back at 2020 and 2020, 2021, what will we look back on? You'd say, well, it's obvious. It's COVID, right? This is the event that will mark a generation, just like 9/11 marked a generation. Let me suggest this, though. Let me suggest that perhaps, at least for us investors, for us those of us who have to deploy capital, perhaps a more important event, and I'll try to explain why in the rest of this presentation, a more important event over the past year was a little bit like the Hounds of Bakersville, the Sherlock Holmes story, the dogs that didn't bark, was the renminbi. Now, throughout my career, most of my career, the renminbi has always been a managed currency. And by and large, when global uncertainty rose, when you didn't know what was going to happen around the world, the Chinese authorities would freeze the value of the renminbi. You see this very clearly from 2008 to 2010, up here on the left of the chart. You see it again in 2015. You may remember that in 2015, China had a massive boom and bust on its equity markets. The equity markets went straight up and then came straight back down. And during that period, basically the renminbi was kept flat for 6 or 9 months. Fast forward to 2020, and here we are, biggest collapse in global trade on record, biggest collapse in global GDP on record, massive global uncertainty. And against that, you have the biggest year-on-year rise in the renminbi on record. This is a clear change of policy from the Chinese government. At the beginning of COVID, if you had asked me, what's the renminbi going to do for the next 12 months? I would have said it's going to flatline, because that's what China had done in every previous crisis, every previous of uncertainty. Today, they've gone the opposite direction. Instead of the thing flatlining, it went absolutely through the roof. Which brings me to another very important event, I think, of the past year. And that is that if you look at the first quarter of 2021, US Treasuries delivered their worst return since 1980. Now, in 1980, the US central bank, the Fed, was tightening aggressively. Volcker wanted to break the back of US inflation. Fast forward to today, and you have an opposite policy from the Fed. The Fed is out there buying $120, $130 billion worth of treasuries every month. And in spite of that buying, in spite of the Fed coming in to, in essence, try to drown out the markets, US Treasuries are delivering the same kind of horrible quarterly return that you saw in 1980. Polar opposite policies, same result.